Bible smack. All right. I have been thinking about this for a little bit, and I've done similar things in the past, but generally, I am attracted to, I guess, what people would consider weaker arguments for God and Christianity, as opposed to just having the one big selling point. All right. One of the reasons why is because these, what I call weaker arguments, do two things. Number one, they move the needle just a little bit. And sometimes moving the needle, you can kind of, make a point a lot stronger, so that if you have a big point, it doesn't stand by itself. And the other thing is that, there are times where people are just, they are indoctrinated in whatever way, shape, or form, and that's going to bring them about a lot of faith, but it's just not good faith. It's not our faith. It's just that they have faith in their position. They are, becoming stubborn. Okay. So, if I'm dealing with creation evolution or Bible prophecy, I don't want to deny those. I don't want to shrink back from the arguments. But I do think sometimes it's better to get a couple steps and then ask the question, as opposed to start from all the way at square one. If you're playing football, you might not get the 100-yard run or the 100-yard pass. But you get 10 yards, and then you can keep on going and build up. So I do think these arguments are good to think about in that way. Just because the more liberal Christians are not able to argue for all of the Bible or all of Christianity doesn't mean that we need to be just as handicapped as they are. Okay. So today I've been looking at this argument, and I think I've seen a couple guys kind of combine it with the Reformed epistemology approach. But before I get to that point, there is this argument that's kind of being put out there, but it's not quite really being put out enough or correctly. Basically, that is the abductive moral argument. And man, I just forgot the name of the proponent of this. But essentially, he's a guy who comes out of Houston Baptist, and really nice guy. Seems kind of like a lovable teddy bear type. And I think I even seen one with his wife, and kind of like his wife is a little bit more expressive than he is. And when it comes to explaining his argument, he'll sit there for an hour or two, and you still don't know what he's talking about. He's good for, I think apparently what it is, he's an expert on talking about the moral argument in giant volumes of works and books. And it's just really hard for him to carry on a conversation and describe these things. Some people are linguistically good at it, and some ain't. It is an argument that takes more time. It's not a snappy type of argument. They say like William Lane Craig, he'll do a little bit of this, but mostly he'll do more of a snappier approach because he's speaking to people. But the idea is the moral argument for God, typically we view it as if we don't have, if we don't have God, then how do we have objective morals? And if you don't have objective morals, then everything falls morally. Well, instead of going in that route, the abductive argument says, well, let's compare the systems and which one is working out better as a system. So, I'm going to try to give a rendition and give my own approach to it and see how that works. Now, what I've done is I've come up with some examples of heinous things and virtuous things to conjure up the idea of morality. Now, with morality and arguing for it, the question I would have is, we're going to look at three systems. And I think as far as morals, I think the three systems will kind of fall into the worldview paradigm. Okay? In other words, they all kind of are about there, with just a little bit of particulars outside of this. And that is, you have your theism, atheism, and pantheism. And so here, you ask the question, where's authority and where's the intelligence? Okay, and when we talk about morality from a theistic point of view, God is the authority and God is the intelligence. Now let me go ahead and I'm going to give examples of heinous things and virtuous things. Now, I do think that as I talk about heinous things, this is not a discussion that I want children to think about too long. Okay, so even though I'm just talking about it, I do think it's adult, and so you might want to be careful if you're raising kids and you want kids to listen to this. I don't think it'll be that popular. Who cares? But just in case. All right, so I found 5 heinous things, and I found 3 virtuous things. Generally, there's not a lot of there's a lot of examples of virtuous things, but I don't think they're categorically too different. So I could only think of about 3. And then, you can think about different different applications of those 3. But there are 5 heinous things. And so these are things that will automatically conjure up, hey, this is immoral. This is wrong. And it will be something intelligent, but it's not your intelligence. And it will be authoritative over you. Okay? So what are these authoritative things that are of another intelligence? So, your instincts should ring on these, okay? Now, the first one would be cannibalism leading to murder. So, you decide that you will end somebody's life and then eat them. Okay? Now, that naturally, our first instinct is to goof. Okay? But let's try to imagine this in reality. Okay? You see a small, frail person. Maybe they're handicapped. Who knows? And then, let's say you're sitting on the subway. Okay. And then there's a larger person on the other side. And you have to, say you go and use a restroom. And we don't have subways, so I don't know how the subway system always works. I don't know if they have them, on every train, or you just go to the train stop. But nevertheless, so you go and you leave, and then you come back. Okay, and it's just there's nobody around. Okay, and so you saw at first that frail little individual, and then the bigger, stronger guy. And when you come back, he took their head and bashed them against the metal until they cracked open their skulls. And then as he bashed it, he grabbed some glass and he cut open their organs. And he's currently gnawing on their organs. You might see some seizures and, things kind of going on with that. And there's blood and carcass and entrails, and the smell is coming everywhere as this fellow feeds. Okay. and you're within a couple feet. Do you feel? How do you feel when you're 3D, when you're really in there and that's going on? Okay. Is there something that's telling you this is wrong? You go into another room, and it looks like a nursery. And guy could be a girl with an object, but basically goes in the nursery, takes an infant, throws them, and sodomizes them right in front of you. Is this okay? Do you feel that there's something wrong? That baby probably is going to be dying by the end of the act, but nevertheless, it's not exactly okay even if the baby survives. On a lighter note, let's say, this guy doesn't seem to bother anybody. But then, someone in the form of a police or government authority takes their house, or takes his house, takes his wife, tortures the wife, and, maybe there's adultery, but at the end of the day, he's going to, burn her face off or something. And takes everything the guy has and rubs it in. I mean, he just tortures about it. Let's say he's got a collection, and let's say, paintings or something, and he just burns all the paintings and, just totally destroys everything the man has. Or a woman, you could switch it around, yeah. Takes everything they have. Is that a good thing? Of course, the easy way to kind of say it is, what if it's happening to you? When they're taking all your stuff, destroying your family, destroying everything you hold dear. Okay. Do you feel like there's something wrong? The fourth is defiling, maybe defiling their home, a home, but defilement, okay? Let's say that you have a roommate, and they are peeing and pooping all over the house instead of the toilet. And occasionally, because everything's going on, they'll vomit. And they'll just take food droppings. They're eating chicken and just throw it on the ground. That's just it. And this is your living space. And it's almost kind of like the wild dog, but instead of a dog, it's just like a person's knowingly doing it. And just destroying everything that you have. And, we just want to kind of hedge it up a little bit. We're not talking about somebody who's mentally disabled. They're just doing it. They have no regard for any of your stuff. And you can just smell all this nastiness. Okay. Or maybe they're just attacking you. Maybe they're throwing, maybe they have pitchers full of urine and they're throwing it at you, and you can smell this. You see all this defilement, okay? The rotting food and all this kind of stuff around. Is this okay? 5, the cult leader. Okay, this guy, in the name of God, has learned how to control the minds of people. And he goes from there to taking everything the people have, taking all their resources, leaving them broke and desolate, and then taking more. David Koresh and Jim Jones are two good examples. They would take, their share of women or children. They would molest, they would rape. Just do everything and then end up killing end up leaving all these people for dead. It doesn't matter what your worldview is. It seems pretty bad that they're using, this idea of God and manipulating it for them to do evil things. So these are all different examples of things that are heinous. These should be, okay, it's not like kind of wrong. It's really wrong, especially when you put them all together. Okay. Now, let's compare systems. Okay. Let's say an atheist system would be that there's no God, so morality would have to only be from your intelligence. And the guy is, in the first example, he's an evolutionist. He wants to, destroy the population because survival of the fittest, and he does not, consider that baby to be worthy of life because he wants to destroy the population and conquer with his own seed or whatever, and he decided just to have some fun with it. Now, for us, for those around the situation, away from the situation, we can disagree with that. But if it's just him and his own rational, then does his worldview stop him? Does his worldview allow for this to be, hey, this is something that we cannot do? Because the worldview has to match the reality. So these things, to me, as far as experiential, these things are all experientially evil. There's something defiled about this. Something evil. And yet, if it's just the rational alone, a man can make an excuse. Or a woman can make an excuse. The eating of other people, especially in the public sense, maybe it's just, once again, that evolutionary principle. Maybe there's some sort of subjective thing to it. Maybe there's some sort of health nut, left-wing guru, new age, primitive thing. And they say, hey, there are cannibalistic tribes, and who are we? You got to be multicultural. Maybe it's racist if you don't allow for cannibalism. Then you have, see here, the theft plus the torture. And you say, hey, we have to preserve. And the only way to preserve is to psychologically bind these people. So we want them tortured and everything, and have their wills broken, because if we can break their will, then we'll never have to deal with that person as a danger. Defiling the home with feces and vomit. Say, hey, if I can get used to these toxins, then maybe my body will adapt. And maybe if this place is such a toxic environment, then I don't have to worry about people wanting anything to do with it. And nobody's going to steal my stuff because it's all covered in poo. And then the cult leader. The Darwin Award. Therefore, these guys are doing all this crazy stuff. Well, if people are stupid enough to get involved, maybe they don't deserve to live. Now, an atheist, pantheist, theist, I think there is a morality that people notice. And so, I think that, most people, bar none, are going to agree that this stuff should not be taking place. And they would feel those sensations and say, hey, you gotta stop it. But there's a rational loophole so that if people are immoral, then they can make up an excuse, and therefore the worldview is not helping. Pantheists will essentially say that there is a naturalism and an evolution, but that, the spirituality is true. So there is something spiritual, there is a karma, okay? And that's all great, but we don't know if it's coming about from this life, if you're responsible for what you do, or if it's from a previous life. So then what do you do about it? Because maybe something bad has happened, but there's a good reason that all this bad stuff is happening from a previous life. So then all these things can be justified again. But if there is a God in a monotheistic sense, then these things are wrong because God said they're wrong. And God has his reasons, and therefore they are intelligent. Now, we can look at the virtues. I think about the sacrifice. That's a common thing for morality. People who sacrifice. Sacrifice of an organ to heal a loved one. You got 2 kidneys. Somebody's got kidney failure. You give them your kidney because you care. Now, you could say, well, okay, you can function on 1 kidney, but, that's demanding a lot, but that person's volunteering that. So then isn't that a good thing? If somebody sacrifices of their own to help another person out, isn't that good of them to do? Would you want somebody if you were in trouble to care for you like that? It's not, the virtues are not as forceful as the evil and heinous acts, but, isn't it a good thing? The protection of an enemy for free. People don't like each other, people fight over all sorts of issues. Question is, what if somebody is fair? They say, okay, well, we have problems. I don't like you, but I don't want you to lose your freedoms. I don't want wrong to be done to you, even though I don't like you. Is that a good attitude? Or is it a bad attitude? And some people might argue for the selfish motive, but if they do, then they're not going to be doing virtuous things. Freely repairing the home of a stranger. Sometimes people get stuck in a situation and they cannot find a way out. And, the roof has got a big hole in it. You ain't got no money. How are you going to find all this stuff? You couldn't afford your home insurance, and now you're stuck. But some people walk along, they say, oh, we'll help you out. We'll care. Is that good? I think so, yeah. If I'm stuck, I'm going to be happy if somebody's going to help me out. Just recently, I dealt with some business people. One was an ex-pastor, and, tried to kind of get some help on a situation. And he threw out a price that was way too much. He knew that we couldn't afford it. But, he just threw it out there. We couldn't afford it, and that was it. But we heard of a gentleman who was Amish, and he wanted to help us out. And so he gave us a very cheap, affordable price. Isn't that good? It'd be good for you, yeah. If it's good for you, then it might be good for everybody. To a degree, I can understand that. But are these good things? Okay, so if it's like an atheist evolutionist, you could say, well, I don't think it's a good thing. I'm going to keep mine, so I'm not helping nobody. Hey, if they don't care about me, I don't care about them. I don't need to waste my time. So forget about protecting my enemy. Hey man, that's a hassle. And, maybe, the better business was the one that was hustling, and you should just let them do their thing. You see, now we have excuses to stop people from doing good. So, the subjective morality of secularism is not helping out with reality. They're not encouraging people in goodness and discouraging people from badness. You have the same situation with the pantheist. How do they know that, like, maybe those people are suffering for a reason, so you don't need to interfere? And, let's say, oh, I cleared this field out to make a farm. How dare you? That land was sacred. What did it do for it? Nothing. But it's sacred now. So once again, which system is working? And with morality, these are things that kind of go basic to life. Now, you can step forward a little bit more with the needs because you talk about what's the purpose of life. What's the purpose of living, especially when living is no longer feeling good? There's a purpose for living if everything's going good, but when that roller coaster starts to steep off the hill, then what do you do? And so, if the system's working, why is it working? Now, there are some ideas, and one that's been brought up lately, especially by Jordan Peterson, is Jungian psychology. Carl Jung, he talked about how that, some of the myths and religious symbols and ideas that are in our minds are actually archetypes. And the archetypes guide us into morality. But why do we have the archetypes? Why is there this function to do this? Sounds like it would be to do something better. But where is the mind and where is the authority? Okay, so if there is a mind that's creating this design, and there is an authority that coincides and makes life better, well, then that morality is coming from somewhere and specifically someone. So if you have a morality and you have a right and a wrong, and this coincides with life, then it would seem that would be, close enough to God. And you could argue for different things. Maybe there's a lower ranking God or blah, blah, blah. But the argument, I think, does have potential because you can expand this, expand it, and then start thinking about it for hours and hours and hours. And once you kind of have different morals to deal with, then you're making a cumulative case. So all of a sudden you have an idea of what's right and wrong. You have an idea of what's holy. Okay, and if that's the truth, then we've, moved the needle. And now the subject is about God instead of whether or not God exists. I'll catch you later.